Vegan key lime pie. This is my boyfriend's favorite flavor pie or dessert, and he didn't get much of a birthday cake, so I'm gonna try to make a key lime pie. Now I saw a recipe online that actually was no baking, so you don't have to bake anything, you don't have to heat up the house, so that's very good for summer. And it actually uses some avocados to give it like the creamy consistency. And I've made sweet desserts with avocado before, like a avocado chocolate mousse, and that comes out really good. So even though you think it's going to taste like guacamole, it's not. So the first thing to do for this recipe, it says to make the crust. Now, I already got a pre-made graham cracker crust because my boyfriend likes extra crust. He likes a thick crust on pies. So I got a pre-made one, and I'm going to add the homemade crust on top of it. Now, the only reason graham crackers are not vegan is some brands use honey, but there are vegan graham crackers. There are a lot of brands and even graham cracker crusts that don't use honey, but it still tastes like a graham cracker. They just use sugar instead. This recipe calls for 12 graham crackers. My blender is old and it needs help, so I'm going to break these with my hands. Add 5 tablespoons of triple filtered coconut oil. Triple filtered because when it's triple filtered it doesn't taste like coconut. Coconut oil has a very distinct smell and flavor, and my boyfriend actually hates the smell and flavor of coconut oil in his food. So I'm also just not going to tell him coconut oil is in this recipe, but he should not taste it, and you should not taste it either. It also calls for 9 pitted dates. I soaked my dates overnight, especially because my blender is kind of old. When the dates are too dry and stiff, they don't always blend very well, so I soaked mine overnight. Actually, the water that they soaked in, I'm going to keep, and I'm going to use that to help sweeten the filling in addition to some maple syrup, because this, water that the date soaked in is actually really good. So I'm not going to put the water in the crust, I'm just going to spoon out the actual dates. And then the zest of 1 lime. I don't have a microplane, so I just use a cheese grater. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I don't have a teaspoon. And then the crust will sit in the freezer until the filling is ready, and the filling only takes a few minutes. The filling can take a lot longer if you forgot to pre-soak your cashews. I should have said that in the beginning. You soak some raw, unsalted cashews overnight because this, in addition to the avocados, is going to be the filling. So if they've been soaking overnight, drain them, rinse them. 3 avocados. Cashews. This is a cup. 3/4 of a cup of fresh lime juice. Now, when I went to the store, all I could find was Persian limes. And if you're a snob like my boyfriend is, he's going to say, that doesn't count because they weren't key limes. Key limes are just smaller limes. They're usually the Mexican limes, and Persian limes are the bigger ones. So I went and I got some key lime juice, Key West lime juice. So fancy. So that's what we're using instead of fresh. Can't have it both ways. Deal with it. 3/4 of a cup. Slightly over 1/2 cup of maple syrup. It says 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons, but I'm just gonna rough it. Everybody says baking is an exact science. You have to use exact measurements or it won't come out right. That's not true. I've experimented and strayed from the recipe so many times, and it's come out just fine. 1/4 cup plus a tablespoon of the triple filtered coconut oil. Tablespoon of vanilla extract. I always do a little extra vanilla, a little extra. More lime zest. It says a tablespoon. This is probably not a tablespoon. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of almond milk because I find when I add almond milk to smoothies and stuff, let them sit for a little bit, it makes them really thick. Also going to add a little bit of the water that the dates soaked in, so that'll add some sweetness. Woo! And I had a little extra crust, so I'm making a baby. This goes back in the freezer for about 3 to 4 hours. Before I serve it, I'm going to put on a vegan Cool Whip topping, but let it thaw at room temperature for about 20 minutes before you slice it and serve it. So my boyfriend wound up showing up at my house at around midnight. I kind of scrambled to put the topping and the garnishes on, and I didn't have time to take out the laptop and record the finishing touches, but this is how it came out. It looks really pretty. It's a really pretty green color. My boyfriend, who is a self-proclaimed key lime pie connoisseur, said that he thought it was really great. He's definitely going to be asking me to make this again. And we also had like 2 little slices left over, and honestly, they've been going strong in the refrigerator for almost 2 weeks. So not only is this easy to make, it keeps for a long time. I guess all the acid kind of preserves everything and keeps the avocados from turning brown. So definitely enjoy, have fun with this. It's really yummy.